Welcome to Wilmington's Grand Opera House, Delaware's premier performing arts center, as well as one of our city's greatest architectural treasures. If walls could talk, then those behind this impressive cast iron facade would have quite a story to tell. After all, the Grand has been entertaining audiences from Wilmington and throughout the region for over 137 years. That's a lot of history, so where do we begin? Let's look into the all-seeing eye. That's the clue from last episode's Where in Wilmington Puzzler, as well as a clue to the fascinating past and present of this amazing building. The all-seeing eye should look familiar. After all, it can be found on the back of every dollar bill. The all-seeing eye, also known as the Eye of Providence, is a symbol of Freemasons, an international fraternal organization dating back to around the late 16th century. The Masons have a long tradition in Delaware. In fact, Freemasonry is the oldest fraternal organization in the state. In the 19th century, the city of Wilmington was growing at an amazing pace, and as the city grew, so did the number of Masons. In 1867, a joint meeting of all Delaware's Masonic lodges led to an agreement to build a new Masonic temple in Wilmington to accommodate the swelling ranks of Masons. The new temple would become known as the Grand Opera House. The building we know and love as the Grand Opera House was built in 1871 first and foremost as a new Masonic lodge. So how did it become an opera house? Freemasonry traditions dictate that Masons only meet on the upper floors of the buildings. That was so they could protect the secrecy of the rituals at the lodge. But that also meant that they had an entire bottom floor. What do you do with it? Well, the Freemasons also believe that it's important to give something back to the community and to promote a good quality of life. So they decided to combine their temple with something that was sorely needed here in Wilmington, a place for cultural experiences, and thus the Grand Opera House was born. Once the Opera House was built, the Masons conducted their private meetings on the top floors of the building while producing lavish theatrical productions on the ground level. The golden period of the Grand was between 1871 and 1911. During this time, some of America's most legendary performers appeared on the grand stage, including John Philip Sousa, Ethel and Lionel Barrymore, and Buffalo Bill Cody. One of the most distinctive features of the Grand Opera House is its cast iron facade, designed in the French Second Empire style and loosely modeled after the Paris Opera House. Cast iron facades were popular in the 19th century because they could be painted to resemble marble but were cheaper and quicker to manufacture. Plus, they are very strong and durable. If the other three walls of this building were to crumble, the facade would still remain in one piece. But the heart of the Grand Opera House has always been its 1,208-seat theater. It's hard to believe today, but this beautiful and historic space almost shared the same sad fate as Wilmington's other landmark theaters, such as the Rialto and the Aldine. Like many buildings with such a long history, the Grand suffered a period of slow decline, a period that began with the transition away from live entertainment and into motion pictures. In 1930, Warner Brothers leased the theater, which by now was a full-time movie house. Because Warner Brothers already owned several other large theaters in town, including the Aldine, which was practically next door to the Grand, the building did not screen top-run films, but was relegated to second-rate horror films and westerns. The building was allowed to fall into decline and closed its doors in 1967. The future of the Grand Opera House looked bleak until a small group of determined restoration enthusiasts quietly began working behind the scenes to save the Grand and restore the building to its former glory. The group organized a centennial ball for the building, which was held on December 22, 1971. The event was successful in generating enthusiasm for restoring the Grand to its former splendor. This statue, right next door to the Grand Opera House, honors Wilmington Mayor Tom Maloney, who provided the first government support of a massive restoration of the Grand. In fact, it was Mayor Maloney who kicked off the restoration of the building during a ceremony in which he climbed a fire engine ladder to the top of the roof and ceremoniously painted the all-seeing eye, which indicated that restoration of the facade was about to begin. Between 1972 and 1976, the Grand was meticulously restored to its former glory. In fact, to this day, the restoration is considered one of the most ambitious and successful restorations in Delaware history. Every detail was restored, even the ceiling fresco. which was lost after being covered when the theater was converted into a movie house, as well as from a subsequent fire on the 4th floor in the early 40s. The fresco was painstakingly recreated from photographs and illustrations. The building wasn't the only thing restored. Today, the Grand has reclaimed its throne as the city's and the state's premier live entertainment venue. Recent years have seen performances by such living legends as B.B. King, Itzhak Perlman, Tony Bennett, as well as the hottest names in popular music, such as the White Stripes and Wilco. In 2000, the Grand Opera House expanded with the addition of the Baby Grand, built on the former site of the Alding Theater. This community performing space features a cozy 300-seat theater on the first floor, with offices, rehearsal rooms, and teaching spaces extending several floors above. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about Wilmington's Grand Opera House, a place full of exciting memories and an even more promising future. Like the Grand's all-seeing eye, we'll see you next time on Where in Wilmington as we continue to explore all the great places in our fabulous city. For Wilmington in the middle of it all, I'm Rich Neumann.